This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2, Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Coming up in 30 minutes, VSiN's own Josh Appelbaum stop by the program, get some betting market insights in Major League Baseball. He also has an NFL play today.
Yes, he does. Did you see what it was?
I did.
We don't know what, actually we should say, we don't know what it is. We just know that it's about the Patriots and their win total. So I'm very curious to see.
I have a feeling he will be on your side. I think. We'll see. Excited for that conversation.
They're going to be wicked awesome.
We're going to get into that. We have best bets at the end of the hour, as always, as well. And we are going to get started here talking Major League Baseball. But before we get into the 12-game slate, one team that is not in action today, you mentioned in our last segment in the Atlanta Braves and how Spencer Strider back tomorrow. Looks like Ronald Acuna could be back as soon as this weekend. He's been doing great down in the minors. Every time I see a headline, it's like Ronald Acuna, homers, huge hit, all this stuff. So that's the tone that I read the headlines in, at least. But what is your view on the Atlanta Braves right now? It's a rough start to the season for them, but are they kind of figuring it out and getting their guys back?
I mean, they're figuring it out and they're getting their guys back. The question is, like, I'm a believer. I know people are gonna call me crazy, but games in May and April matter. Like those are games that you don't get back. And so when you look at the hole that you've dug yourself in a National League, which is just rife with parity and very good teams, like, is it going to be enough to dig your way out of it? And that's what I think is going to be pretty fascinating. This was always the case for Atlanta. Strider was going to come back. Acuna was going to come back. They have righted the ship a little bit here. They're now over 500, but they're 4 games out of a wild card spot in the National League. And you could say, well, it's only 4 games. We're in the middle of May. But again, look at the competition that we're talking about here. We have all 4 of these National League West teams that you have to contend with for the National League wild cards. You have teams like the Philadelphia Phillies, the second-place team in your own division. Obviously, the team at the top of your division, at least with a very slight lead, in the New York Mets. There are so many teams you're competing with here. I don't think the other teams in the NL Central would be worth writing home about, but the Cardinals are kind of sticking around. So we'll see if that's actually going to be there. They are minus 165 to make the playoffs. If you're going to bet them, the time would be now. Because like you said, I think Acuna is slated to come back. Is it this weekend? Yeah, so you're going to get him back. Strider is set to make his return tomorrow. So if the turnaround was going to begin, it would be now. But I did this all the way back, like I think even almost a month ago when I was on Live Bet Saturday with Will Hill, and we were talking about this where I was kind of like staking my flag. Like, no, like you can't start this way. That this National League looks so good. I don't think you're going to be able to dig your way out of it, but we will see if that's the case. I think that 4 games is a lot wider margin than people think, especially when you're talking about the teams you're competing with to get one of those playoff spots. I mean, right now, Stormy, of the teams in control of these National League wild cards, Phillies, Padres, Giants, I mean, who are you going to bank on that's going to fall out of that? And again, that doesn't include leaping a team like the Diamondbacks and these others in their own division, the Phillies and the Mets.
Fair. Let's get to the slate today. I guess speaking of that division, the Mets visiting the Red Sox, a 3-game homestand for Boston, who has lost 5 of their last 6 games now, coming off a 10-4 loss to Atlanta, to those Braves yesterday. How bad was Brian Bello? Is it Bello or Bayo?
I don't know. I think I'll look it up. I think it's Bayo. I go with Bayo.
Okay, that's what I said last week, and then somebody said Bello, and I was like, okay, well, then now I'm hosed. Anyways, 10 hits, 7 runs, 5 walks, just 3 strikeouts. Brutal performance there. As far as today goes, I think Mets are pass on my end. What do you think?
It's officially Bayo, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, look, dude, Kodai Senga, again, like this was a season cut short last year. Senga's unreal, dude. And if you look at the underlying metrics, this is a guy that I think is going to be not untouchable, but you and I have discussed this National League Cy Young race and how deep it is. Guys like Michael King, like I've got Michael King. Obviously, we have seen Yamamoto kind of slip here in his last few starts. Again, slip to like well above average. But like it's such a deep race, and Kodai Senga is among these guys. Over 44 1/3 so far this year, 102 ERA, 284 fielding independent. I think that this is one where, again, it's a relatively fair price if you're banking on Senga to come in here and get this done on the road. We have seen the market kind of move a little bit in the Red Sox direction because, minus 140, I guess you can quibble with that being a little high, but I'm a big Senga guy, and I think he's going to keep his team in it. So if you want to go like team total for the Red Sox under, especially in the first 5, if you want to go first 5 under, somewhere in that range where you're kind of isolating Senga to have a pretty good start, I think it's a fair way to ask because this price getting cheaper on him, but I am a big Senga believer, and I don't think that's going out on a crazy limb.
I love Mets first 5. Only allowed 1 earned run, last 2 starts, 6 shutout innings against the Diamondbacks, who are a decent hitting team. Lots of strikeout potential. Yeah, I like the Mets first.
And the Red Sox pitching is just hasn't been great, right? Like you and I, for some reason, deeply covered that Tigers series where the Tigers lineup just absolutely mashed anybody that stepped on that hill. So even if you go out to get to the bullpen, it hasn't been great. The one win they have in their last 6 games was a 7-6 shootout against the Atlanta Braves. Again, like I just don't trust the overall pitching for Boston. So if Senga comes out, can hold this lineup down, and you get the usual pitching performances that we've seen here in recent weeks for the Red Sox, I don't think it's crazy to ask this Mets team to get this thing done today.
Well, would you like to dive into the Tigers series for this week? In St. Louis, taking on the Cardinals. Cards -162 with Sonny Gray on the hill today. Total 8.
I'm not entirely thrilled with this one. I think what's going to be pretty interesting is what you get from Sonny Gray, because Gray's definitely taken a step back. I mean, each of the last, it's been a slow, not a decline, I guess, if you will. But remember, 2 years ago when he was with Minnesota, was absolutely untouchable. Last year was fine, and then this year has gone to that average to below average range. Over 50 innings and 9 starts. He's got a 4.50 ERA. He has not been the same guy that we have seen. Strikeout rate, he was never a dominant strikeout guy, but it's dipped here a little bit. Really, the issue, as you look at it with him, is the contact. He's given up a ton of hard contact. Barrel rate is over 10%. Hard hit rate's over 40%. This is a guy that's been getting knocked around pretty hard. And if there was a lineup, as we've covered here, we talked about this with Mike Palm, like there's strong arguments to be made, and we've talked about this before, that the Tigers are the best team in Major League Baseball, or in the American League. And the big reason why could be this lineup, which has been among the best in Major League Baseball. So if we're going to trust that Sonny Gray is going to continue to regress here a little bit, I would trust that this Tigers lineup is going to be able to get to him. Problem is, on the other side, you had Kiter Montero. We've talked about him. 5 appearances, 4 of them starts, 4.68 ERA, 5.81 fielding independent. If you want to go, again, first 5 over and expect that Montero is going to be him, that this Tigers lineup is going to be able to get to Sonny Gray. I think that's something you can look at here. That would just be my only question is the Tigers lineup going to be good enough against Gray that they're going to be able to cover a half run line in the first 5, or are you going to get burned because Montero gets absolutely smoked?
Tigers +87 run differential for them this year, second best in Major League Baseball. Astros Rays, Colton Gordon versus Ryan Pepio today. Pepio and the Rays -142 home favorites. Run total in that one 9. Why did this stand out to you?
Well, I just wonder. So I'm not big. I like the grind of regular season baseball, but one of the things that I kind of have a blind spot for is situational handicapping, right? There's a lot of handicappers out there that like to bet situations and spots and all sorts of things. In the NBA, you can kind of point them out, right? 3 games in 4 nights or 5 games in 7 days, whatever it is. Second legs of back-to-backs, all those sort of things. But I just wonder, what do we get from Houston after a grinder of a 4-game set against Texas? Like that was a very tough series. You split 4 games. Now you have to hit the road to take on a comparable team in terms of power rating. You mentioned Pepio. He's been fine. I think you can make the argument there's a little regression coming. 3.93 ERA, 4.70 on the fielding independent. Strikeout rate is well down this year, but the walks are right in line with where he was last year. All of a sudden, he's getting taken out of the yard with some frequency that you don't really like. Again, with him too, contact numbers are very strong or very poor, high contact numbers, which aren't very good for a pitcher. So, I think Pepio is due to get got at some point here by a good lineup. Are the Astros that? And just what does it look like playing a tough 4-game set on the road against a divisional opponent, then having to go out and play Tampa Bay in this weird environment out there at that weird park,
Okay. Speaking of weird things, the Dodgers lose all 3 to your Angels. Very weird.
That's right.
They have dropped
not weird. Everybody saw it coming.
4 of their last 6 games to the Angels and A's. Now they have a 3-game set with the Arizona Diamondbacks. How do you think they rebound for this set, and specifically today against Brandon Pfaadt? I mean,
the thing is, again, like we talked about, all right, cool. So you get swept by the Angels. You have lost 4 out of 6 or whatever it is, like you said, if you include that A series. Now send out Landon Knack to stop the skid, right? Like, it's just, there's so many guys on the injured list here. And for Arizona's flaws when it comes to their pitching staff, and you go back to the series that they just played with each other, that was a very entertaining and high-scoring series. where both teams, it was just a slobber knocker when you're looking at it for the most part. We saw a 5-3 game that was fine. There was that 14-11 contest that we saw as well. The finale was where the D-backs got beat up 8-1. So there's potential here for some fireworks. You see the total, it's at 10. Because if you look at it, Knack's numbers aren't really great. 5.89 ERA, 4.34 fielding independent. On the other side, you get Fott, as you mentioned, who is 3.73 on the ERA, but his expected ERA is nearly 2 runs higher at 5.63. Phipps at 4.41. So again, some of the numbers that we're pointing to that would say, hey, this dude would probably get knocked around at some point. Like, he can't keep this up. And the Dodgers lineup is probably capable of doing that. So I lean a little toward the over here. I think we could get another exciting game between these two, but I just don't think either has the pitching to really hold the other down, and I think this could be a pretty fun game today.
Okay, last 90 seconds. Anything else that you liked on the card today? I know we'll get into some more baseball with Josh in a bit.
No, I think we hit on everything. I think there's pretty interesting series getting started between Kansas City and San Francisco. I think we've brought it up before, but I've questioned whether or not Robbie Ray can continue to do what Robbie Ray has been doing throughout this season. Ray right now, 3.04 ERA, but the FIP is starting to actually come down. So you're starting to see that those two things are kind of meeting in the middle, and that maybe this is legit what we're seeing from Robbie Ray. Gave up 3 earned runs against Arizona last time out. He hasn't given up he's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in every start but one. So maybe this is a deal where we're starting to kind of see regression to the mean a little bit, and it's just going to come in the middle and meet for a guy like Robbie Ray, who I thought was a regression candidate, but instead might just be pitching pretty well. And so I'm going to be very, very interested to see how he holds up against the Royals lineup, which has not been pretty good over the large sample size of the season.
Yeah,
so far.
I actually have a small bet on the Giants today, minus 135 that current price, but Giants 9-0 in the games that Robbie Ray has started, played well, gotten good run support, the best bullpen ERA in the sport as well with the San Francisco Giants. So we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, the NBA and NHL postseason rolls on. We have the conference finals set in both, so we'll get into that. And our guy JVT here has a full write-up on VSiN.com on the Eastern Conference Final in the NBA. Deep dives coming up next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Take your betting to the next level with First Bet. Whether it's Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, or Saratoga, First Bet puts the action right at your fingertips. Sign up now at firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. And use the promo code VSiN200. That'll score you a 20% rebate on all your wagers the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Bet smarter today at firstbet.com. Journalism, by the way, of course, a lot of our experts were talking about last week, ends up finding a way in the Preakness to come through there. Kudos to our guide, Brian Ortega. In the back, he said that he wanted to make sure it was known on the show last week. Journalism was his pick, and he came through. I
will say that I think for me, let's not do what Stormy does here and take this out of context.
Yeah, but, yep, I'm the worst. I'm a terrible
for me,
person.
That was the most entertaining horse race I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
like the physicality,
to come back and all that,
boxing out, all that stuff. I apologize, I don't remember his name. Who's on the call usually? Ortega, Larry Combs potentially, but a very good call as well. It was very, very solid. So, look, the bar I will say is very low for having the most entertaining horse race I've ever seen. I have not seen very many, but that's at the top of the list.
Very nice. Larry Colmus.
Larry Colmus, thank you.
There you go. I want to get into a little bit of the playoff action, but again, that just kind of speaks to the fun of this time of year with all the different stuff that we have going on, the different Triple Crown races, and now the NBA and NHL postseason. You up on VSiN.com right now have a breakdown of this Knicks Pacers series. Also, Zachary Cohen, who does a great job with us at VSiN.com. He's got the Western Conference covered with OKC and that side of things. But when you look at the Knicks and Pacers, I am curious your thoughts on New York coming out of this series against Boston. Obviously, yes, the Celtics had the injury to Jason Tatum, which played a role there at the end. But a lot of people talking about how, hey, Boston really didn't respect the Knicks enough. They had these massive leads, didn't find a way to hold on. That's on them more than New York winning. Do you view it that way?
I mean, to an extent. I mean, look, they led by 20 in each of the first 3 games, right? There's something to be said of the Celtics blowing that series. It goes back to what we just watched with the Pacers and the Cavs. Injuries are part of that series story. Having said that, it is not the reason why we're here, and it is the same thing there, right? There is no denying that the Celtics could have and probably should have won the first 3 games of that series if they actually do what they're supposed to do, but they didn't, and the Knicks took advantage, and that is also part of the story. So I'm never one to point to the extremes of other sides. There is truth in everything, and I think there is truth, and it would be fair to point out what has transpired. I mean, Stormy, as we have discussed, going into game, was it 5, the Celtics had a positive, they were plus 4.3 or whatever it is per 100 possessions against the Knicks, despite trailing 3-2 in that series. They had outplayed them every 100 possessions, and yet they were down. That speaks to where you should have been, but the Knicks deserve credit for doing what they did. So I don't want to take too much away from them, but I think it is hard to deny that that is part of why we were here.
Okay.
For sure.
Knicks minus 145 favorites in the series. Indiana plus 125. You have a very detailed write-up on the series, as I mentioned, but you also said I will state it plainly. I believe the New York Knicks will win the series.
Oh, you read it. You read it. Yeah. Well, because, look, so the theme I used with my rundown is I think the key word for this series overall is sustainability. Can the Pacers continue to do what they have done? To reiterate, their effective field goal percentage in non-garbage time is 59.1%. If you include garbage time, their effective field goal percentage, 58.3% through the first 2 rounds, would be the highest in NBA history, according to NBA.com. If you look at cleaning the glasses, location effective field goal percentage, again, to reiterate for our audience, it is a metric which tells you what would this team's effective field goal percentage be if they shot league average from all of their shot attempts. The difference is 59.1%, which is the current number for Indiana, to 53.3% if they actually shot league average. We talked about that overall, right? What about some of the individual performances, Stormy? Andrew Nembhard in the regular season averaged 10 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 45% shooting from the floor and 29% from beyond the arc. He is now averaging 14.5 points, 6 assists on 50% shooting overall and 50% shooting on 3-point attempts. Mm-hmm. Again, a 29% 3-point shooter in the regular season is hitting half of his 3-point attempts so far in the playoffs. You can tell me he's a playoff riser. I would tell you that I have a larger sample size that tells me he's not that great of a shooter. Is that going to continue? Again, maybe. That's the weird thing with variance and all these sort of things is you can just get on hot runs. Sometimes the coin flip just goes heads 20 times in a row. Sometimes on roulette, you hit black 7 times in a row, and then it hits an 8th. But over the larger sample size, as we always know, things regress back to the mean. Water finds its level. Aaron Nesmith, how about this? Regular season, he shot 43% on 4.3 3-point attempts per game. It's great. He's shooting 48% now on about 5.6 attempts from deep. So he's taking more shot attempts from beyond the arc and hitting even more of them in the postseason. Generally, that's probably not going to continue to happen. Pascal Siakam, he has improved as a 3-point shooter. Stormy, he is a career 29% shooter from beyond the arc. He's shooting 44% on 3.4 3-point attempts per contest. And let's go to 2 more things that I think, again, go to the sustainability of why we're here for Indiana. And again, I want to be clear. I think this is a long series. And I think that ultimately when these things find their level, it just ends with the Knicks winning a hard-fought series over the course of 7. But how about this? There's 2 things that really stick out about this run for Indiana. You have actually brought this up before. Coming into this postseason, teams were 1,640 when down by 7 or more points with less than a minute left to go in the fourth quarter and overtime. They are now 1,640 with the Pacers accounting for 2 of those wins in this postseason run. How about the fact that in clutch time, this is the craziest part, right? Again, game within 5 points, 5 or fewer minutes left to go. Generally, that is a category that has some randomness to it. You cannot consistently be great in clutch time because it is such a small area of the game that there's probably going to be some volatility. In the regular season, the Pacers were 24-14 in clutch time with a plus 20.9 net rating. Dominated when the games were tight. And in this postseason story, they are 5-0 in the 5 games that have gotten to clutch time with a plus 53.8 net rating. As I put when I texted Kelly and Zach, how the F do they keep that up to? Yeah. And so that's what it comes down to. Again, they have the deeper team. In terms of bench scoring, they blow the Knicks out of the water. The Knicks don't have anybody that they trust coming off of the bench to an extent, and I think that's really going to play here. The Pacers are a very quick team in terms of tempo. These are 2 teams on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I think generally, with a berth on the NBA Finals on the line, by the time this series gets deeper, We're going to get slower. We're going to get more half-court oriented. I think it's going to play in the Knicks' favor because you're just going to get tighter. You're going to be on the way to the NBA Finals. But I think ultimately, over the course of a long series, all of these things that I'm pointing out for Indiana will probably regress back to the mean, and I think that generally means that the Knicks win this series more often than not.
Knicks, like you said, potentially in a long series. Knicks 4-2, 6-1 the price there. Knicks to win in 7, 4-1. Of course, just the straight up series winning price, minus 145, but alternate plus money angles that maybe you could try to get involved there. Big picture, do you like the fact that we have so much new blood in this? Me too. Yeah. Especially for a league that we talked about it coming into this postseason. Like, this feels so top heavy, and it's going to be these two teams that are at the end, and it just felt like that was inevitable. For us to have all this new blood, I think is really exciting and fun for the sport and for audiences. Like, you look at 3 teams who have never won it, and the Knicks being a team that hasn't won it in the modern era, and how big that fan base is. And I mean, they celebrated like they won the whole dang thing this past weekend.
Look, if New York has no haters, I am dead. Okay, like I'm a number one New York hater. I will fully admit that. So there's at the bottom of the list of teams that I would like to see win this. But overall, the point is, yes, like I would agree. I like seeing new teams. I think this is the first time in NBA history. I have to double check on this stat. But this will be the 7th straight year we've had a different champion in the NBA.
Yes, and you're correct in that.
Yeah, right. So that's the first time. Yeah. So
since
like
the Nuggets were eliminated.
Yep. So like that's cool. Like that's a cool thing to see these different teams end up having to do this. This is the parity that we've wanted, especially after an era we were watching the same NBA Finals for 4 straight years, right? That this is cool to finally see some new blood get in it. But yeah, I'm totally down. If I could really quickly too, I did bet a series leader prop here. Josh Hart to lead the series in rebounds I thought was really interesting. They are, the Knicks, a very good rebounding team. And one of the quiet weaknesses of Indiana throughout this postseason run, they've actually been a really bad rebounding team, especially when you're talking about giving up offensive rebounds. And the Knicks dominated in the regular season series, killed them on the glass. In 3 games, Hart had 30 rebounds. Now, he did not lead the regular season series in rebounding. It was Karl-Anthony Towns. He's the rightful favorite. But over the course of what could be a long series, at a good plus price of 5-1 or better, if Cat, which at times can find himself in foul trouble, has to sit longer stretches, Hart is a phenomenal rebounding guard. He's going to be able to get some boards. And I thought the price at 5-1 or better, there's actually one shop that was at 9-1. There was a little rogue number, but they changed that pretty quickly. I think at 5-1 or better, it's worth putting a little sprinkle on Hart to lead the series in rebounds.
Love that angle. And again, reminder, everybody, right now up at VSiN.com, we have JVT's preview on the Eastern Conference. Zachary Cohen's got the Western Conference down. All of that up on the website. If you don't want to reach the article limit, you need to be a VSiN Pro subscriber. And right now, when you use our promo code PRO, it's not just for the 12 months. It's not just the full year. We're giving you the discounted price and tacking on 2 extra months to that. 14 months of VSiN Pro access, $199 right now at VSiN.com/subscribe. And so that's the articles, that's the best bets, the betting splits, the betting guides, all of that stuff. We are going to step aside. When we come back, VSiN's own Josh Appelbaum is going to join us. He's got some market insights and plays in Major League Baseball. There is an NFL season win total that he is angling toward as well. And of course, still best bets to come at the end of the hour. Thanks for hanging out with us. Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So we talk about this all the time here on VSiN as we welcome you back to Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, that up on VSiN.com each and every day, we have exclusive betting splits available to our VSiN Pro subscribers. And it's from what I think is pretty cool, 2 very different angles when it comes to the sports books. You get Circa and DraftKings. Circa, which is a property known for taking those big bets from professional bettors. DraftKings is going to give you that more broad market, national public perspective. So that means you're getting the real action, not just public money, but the kinds of wagers that are moving lines. You can see the percentage of bets versus the percentage of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. You want in on it? VSiN's exclusive betting splits, little as $9.99 your first month at VSiN.com/subscribe. And like we were talking about last segment too, when you are a VSiN Pro subscriber, it's not just betting splits that you get access to, but all of the articles, the content, the best bets from all of our show hosts and guests, so many different things and tools that you can use at VSiN.com.
Yes, indeed. And I believe this week I will be getting the fateful email from one Adam Burke about what my assignments will be for the NFL betting guide.
Oh, is that not so crazy that we're already getting to that point where the NFL and college football are about to be top of mind?
Yeah, what do we do? I think I saw a tweet, 16 or 15 more Saturdays until college football.
Sheesh.
Like that seems, that's very quick. It's very quick.
Well, and we were talking at the very top of the show about how, we're going to get to that time of year in July where you're essentially the daily opportunities that you have to bet are on baseball. But we'll get into a lot of those college football and NFL futures, looking at those season win totals, getting into schedules, all of that different stuff, which is so much fun. As for right now, though, very excited to welcome into the show our good friend, Josh Appelbaum on the Progressive Guest Line. Make sure you check out the All Systems Go podcast if you haven't already. Follow Josh on X at Josh_insights. And we are going to get into some of these market insights. Feel like this is a good follow-up to our bet splits conversation. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Stormy and JBT. Great to be with you. Happy Monday. And, excited to talk bet splits and some sharp plays with you today.
Well, let's get started with the MLB card today. 12 games on deck. I know there are a handful that from that kind of bet percentages standpoint you have been looking at. What was the first one that caught your eye today?
Yeah, the first one that caught my eye is kind of an incredible buy low, sell high play tonight, Stormy, with the Athletics in Sacramento hosting the LA Angels. So this is kind of fishy for a couple of reasons. One, let's kind of start off with, what the market has told us thus far. We opened this game with the A's around a -115, -120 home favorite, relatively modest chalk. LA Angels around +100. And what's notable to me, Stormy, is that you had two opposite results this past weekend. You had the Angels go into the Dodgers, which never happens, and sweep the Dodgers as big dogs every single game, whereas the A's went to San Francisco and got swept. So on the one hand, it's like, hey, Angels are hot. They're getting basically, kind of an even money plus money payout. A's have really struggled, yet the A's open as a favorite. And the public doesn't really know what to do with this one. Like you mentioned the bet splits at DraftKings right now, it's basically 50-50. You have 50% of money line bets on the A's at +100 and then another 50% here on the Angels. So what's notable to me is that even though it's 50-50, Stormy, typically when you see a split like that, the line really shouldn't move at all. Like theoretically in a vacuum, there's no reason for the odds makers to adjust the price because you're right down the middle. But that's not what's happened. This line has gotten steamed up pretty big here in favor of the A's. The A's went from -115, -120, now up to -140. So that tells me you got some smart money here buying low on the A's. Really, to your point, Stormy, you do a good job of kind of telling the viewers and listeners, hey, don't just look at DraftKings, but look at Circa. Out where you're at, Stormy, 82% of money line bets and over 90% of the money is on the A's. So even though the DraftKings national public book is split, all that big money out in the desert looks to be going with the A's. And then I got a lot of system matches on the Athletics when both teams are below 500. Just take the favorite. That system is 53-25, 68%, 10% ROI this year. Then if you look at home favorites in the opener of a new series, those teams are 91-46, 66%, 7% ROI. In particular, if you isolate Monday home favorites with a line move. So it's Monday, start of a new week, your home favorite, and the line's moving in your direction, which is what's happening here with the A's. Those teams are 24-8, 75%, 18% ROI. A's are better against righties. They rank 14th versus 27th. A's have hit better at home. And I just love these gross ones, Stormy. Our old friend Michael Lombardi would call it a hazmat play because it's so gross. Need a hazmat suit to play it. I got to go A's here. It makes no sense. Almost makes me like it more. Give me the A's around -135.
All right, let's go to those San Francisco Giants that did just face the Athletics. I was making the case that Robbie Ray has been pitching pretty well. Do the betting patterns support that here, Josh?
They do, and it's a great pitching matchup, JVT. Not just Robbie Ray, who's 6-0, 3.04 ERA, but Chris Bubich has been really good for Kansas City as well, 4-2, 1.66 ERA. So that's why you're seeing such a low total in this one of 7.5. And not only is it only 7.5, but it's really juiced toward the under -120. So we could be looking at a 3-2 game, low-scoring game. But I like the Giants in this one. Based on the market, we've seen a move towards San Francisco. They opened at some shops as low as -120, -125. Now they're up to -130, some shops even -135. You have a ton of system matches lighting up on the San Francisco Giants. If you're a home favorite off a win with a winning record, 67% this year, 5% ROI. If you're a non-division home favorite off a win with steam in your direction, at least 5 cents or more, 68%, 7% ROI. And then you also have that those same two systems that match with the A's, favorite in a home opener and Monday home favorites with a line move, both well above 65, 75%. And in particular, the G-Men, they're 15-5, 75% as a home favorite. That's a 21% ROI. Giants are 16-7 at home. Royals have been a losing team on the road, 9-13, and you have that correlative betting. Anytime, JVT, I see a low total that's juiced under, and then the line is moving toward the favorite, that's kind of a good sign because you would expect fewer amount of runs scored, more likely to come from, quote-unquote, that better team. So if you can shop around, still find San Fran around -130, that's my play. I'm going to go G-Men tonight.
The Cubs took 2 of 3 at home against the Marlins last week. Now they are on the road for a 3-game set, and it seems like everybody today likes Chicago. Are you in agreement with that line move for the Cubs?
I am in agreement, Stormy, but I'm getting a little nervous because this is one of those plays where you love it and then kind of you see some buyback and it goes the other way. So if we start with the pitching matchup, Ben Brown, 3-3, 4.75 ERA against Edwin Cabrera, 0-1, 5.52 ERA. Brown has been really good in the month of May. He's made 2 starts. He's got a 2.76 ERA. He's been really good on the road as well, 1.59 ERA versus 6.39 at home. And you look at the Cubs, they match a lot of systems here, both off the win, take a favorite. That's 63% with a 3% ROI. And then if you look at these sweet spot bigger favorites, -170 or more with a line move, they're 72% this year with a 5% ROI. And Cubs in this spot as a favorite, they've really come through for bettors this year. They're 19-9, 68%, 10% ROI. And on the road as a chalk favorite, they're 6-2. Here's why I'm getting a little bit nervous, though, Stormy. I love the early move. Cubs opened as low as like -165. They got up to as high as like -180. Now they've come back down a little bit. Looks like there was maybe some kind of just buy low value or kind of bites at the apple from sharps on Miami, like getting like +150-ish, because we're now starting to see the Cubs kind of come back down to like -175, -170. Still like the bet splits on the Cubs, about 85% bets, over 90% money at DraftKings, and circa, as you mentioned, Stormy, a ton of lopsided betting on the Cubs. So it worries me they're a little public. It worries me with a little bit of buyback on Miami. But this is a bet I already made, and I gotta dance with the one who brung me. So I'm on the Cubs on this one, hoping to get a little lucky, -170.
All right, last couple of minutes. Like good teammates, we're going to post you up and let you work here. National Football League. Let's go. Give me some good stuff on the New England Patriots.
Yeah, JVT, you're like Kobe. Get it down to Shaq here. I'll take you home on this one. So I like the Patriots, over to go over their win total, but I think there's some nuances here you got to be aware of. So let's start with what I try to do. I am in New England. Of course, I am a Patriots fan. I bet they're under win total last year, but one thing I noticed is the betting market is respecting New England this offseason. I just got an email from our buddy John Ewing at BetMGM, which details the opening win total, the current win total, the juice movement, and really what I like is the bet splits. So bet splits aren't just for games. You can get them for futures as well. At BetMGM, the Patriots win total opened at 7.5. Now it's up to 8.5. And currently 79% of bets, 90% of money is on that over. So first thing I noticed is just, hey, you're getting some respect and a lot of big money here going on the Patriots to win you. Basically, the sharps really like the over 7.5, but now it's up to 8.5. But here's where I think you got to really shop around, because with futures, again, not every book is going to give you the same number. So, for example, like BetMGM, ESPN Bet, DraftKings, Caesars, most of these books are at 8.5. But if you shop around, FanDuel is still offering 7.5. Now, it's a little pricey. It's over -150. I bet the over 7.5 at -140 last week. But I think there's value there. I'm willing to pay a little more juice because, again, if this team lands on 8 wins, the early sharps who got 7.5 win, you lose if you get a late 8.5. So that's my play, over 7.5 at -150 now. But here's some reasons to be optimistic. Obviously, they were terrible last couple of years. You have a big advantage or a big upgrade with the coaching, going from Gerard Mayo, who kind of didn't know what he was doing and was way over his head. Good guy, but Kraft put him in a position that he really wasn't ready for. Now you bring in Vrabel. Again, who's got that experience, easy schedule.
Josh, appreciate the time, buddy. We're up against the break. We'll be right back with best
when
bets.
it's pro Patriots,
but
you got to cut it off, huh?
It wasn't over, and JVT's smiling. We'll be back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Up this Monday edition of Money Moves, live from downtown Las Vegas, Circle Resort Casino. Thanks for hanging out with us, Sirius XM Channel 158. JVT, Stormy, Buonantony with you, as it is the time of show that everybody waits for, the best bets. And thank you to Josh Appelbaum. Last segment, he gave out a couple of his plays for the day, and I feel bad. I hate those hard outs that we have here on the radio sometimes. Where
No, there was no hard out. You guys just didn't want to hear the propaganda, and so you cut them off and went to break. But that's okay. Josh, I'm here to continue to spread the New England propaganda. As much as I hated the franchise in my youth, being a Colts fan, look, people are trying to hold us down, man. People are always trying to hold us Patriots down, and I get it, but you will not. Okay. Our voices will prevail.
So they're going to win the division this year.
See, again, here we go. You're doing your best. You're doing your best.
I can't help myself.
This is what you do, right?
I can't help myself.
Let's play back the tape. I'll pay you $1,000 if you can find the moment when I said they would win the division.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time, but you are very pro Patriots.
9 wins or more.
Fine.
Let's go. Alternate win total 10.5 over. It's going to happen.
Is that going to be one of your best bets when we do the NFL betting guide later on? That one, you're very excited about it.
I'm hoping I get the AFC East. Shout out to Burke. If you're listening and you're watching, I would take it. I do know I'm going to get, I
know him. I'll put a good word in for you.
2 or 3 divisions. I can't remember what my assignment's going to be. But either way, hopefully I do.
Okay. In addition to the season win total, Josh also gave out the A's, minus 135 on the money line against the Angels, the Cubs that are out to minus 170 now. I was looking at the bet splits for that one as Josh was talking, and it is all of the money and bets coming in on Chicago. But he said, yes, that scares him a little bit, but still sticking to his guns. He likes the Cubs. And then he and I both are on the Giants money line, which I will get to as we have our best bets for the day presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. Well, most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances. Even when you put your own money on the card, GBank treats those gaming transactions as purchases. So you're saving 3 to 5% on cash advance fees right there. Plus, in addition to the 1% cash back rewards on eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, you also get 2% cash back rewards on all other eligible purchases. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. But in addition to everything Josh was saying with this Giants-Royals game about the line movement, and yes, they have been bet up from minus 120 to minus 135 and all the system matches he mentioned, I just like Robbie Ray, and I understand the potential for regression coming for him, but even on the days where he hasn't had his best stuff, he's had the run support, he's had the bullpen support. San Francisco has the best bullpen in Major League Baseball right now. Giants 18-9 as favorites, 16-7 at home. So I am with Josh there on the Giants. I also took the Brewers on the money line today against the Orioles, and you know how much I love Baltimore. They fire their manager Brandon Hyde on Saturday. How
about that, huh?
Get blown out in 2 games against the Nationals since. So no new manager bump for them in the interim. Since May 3rd, 2-12, losing on the run line, by the way, in 11 of those 12 losses as well. So I am contemplating kind of that alt run line approach with Milwaukee too. Plus 165 is the price I see there right now. Dean Kramer on the road, 6 road starts. He's 1-4 with 6.96 ERA. Even though they're not the best lineup in baseball against, I feel like this is a Brewers team, yes, that has had its own struggles. They have their own problems, but I feel like they should be able to hit Dean Kramer and they should be able to get this done. So I bet the Brewers on the money line and then a small sprinkle on them on the run line as well. Priester for the Brewers put together a couple good appearances last 10 innings, giving up only 2 earned runs. So hopefully he keeps with it.
I vehemently disagree with everything.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. Oh. You're right. Look, Dean Kramer stinks. You don't have to whittle it down to the road. His overall numbers are terrible. So I could smell what you're stepping in.
Okay, and I did throw in an F5 on the Mets today, too.
Okay.
I don't know if you're of interest on that one as well with Kodai Senga, but it just makes too much sense.
Did you do Giants, too? Did you mention that?
Giants money line for the game, full game.
Sorry, I wasn't listening because I was responding to our buddy Adam Burke, who maybe his ears were burning, but did just send an email asking what divisions you want. I requested the AFC.
Boom.
There we go. All right, nothing to baseball for me today. Let's go with the hockey. Hurricanes.
Hockey. Let's do that hockey.
Yeah, Hurricanes win the series plus 105. Let's go. Stick to my guns. I will say that the Hurricanes are deserving of every bit of respect, and yet they are not getting it. A brilliant 5-on-5 team that I think can outplay Florida over the course of a best of 7. Give me the Canes at plus 105.
So can I ask you something? I feel like Carolina is in the conference finals what the Toronto Maple Leafs are in the first and second rounds. They just can't seem to get out of it. They can't get out of their own way, and they cannot win in this round. They have lost 12 straight games in the conference finals. They've won 10 playoff series under Rod Brindamore, which is second only to the Tampa Bay Lightning, by the way, in that time since 2019. All of these playoff series that they've won. The Lightning have 3 Cup finals and 2 Stanley Cups to show for it. Carolina's got nothing. Why is this the year? Why is this year different? Because they're always being talked about and praised as this high-level core team that's going to do great. I even thought that against Florida 2 years ago, and they got swept in that series.
I think your comp is incorrect. You know what the comp is for the Carolina Hurricanes?
What is it?
They are the Boston Celtics. And was it 6 out of 8 years they made it to the conference finals? They didn't have an NBA
and then they finally
finals
broke
to show
through
for
last
it.
year.
Then they finally broke through as part of a dominant run through the postseason. And every year, everybody kept saying, like, they're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. Until they did it.
Okay.
So here we are. The Carolina Hurricanes with their dominant metrics and even strength, the shot share, the expected goals, that is their three-point shooting. And nobody believed until it finally happened.
It would be cool if you're correct. I just don't know. I feel like we're so poised to get a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup at this point. Panthers-Oilers.
If Carolina breaks through, I would assume it depends also on the way that the series goes. Underdogs to both the Oilers and the Stars?
Yes.
I mean, right now they are the bottom team in terms of the futures odds.
Yep.
So I don't think that's crazy, but I do wonder if they would get an upgrade. Obviously, I think if they sweep Florida, there's probably a solid upgrade that maybe is.
Sure. I think depending on how any of these series go, that could impact things. But surface level where we sit right now, I think Carolina would be the dog. Even when you look in the Western Conference right now and the way that Edmonton and Dallas is, you would think, and I would have thought this against Vegas too, we talked about it, that Edmonton should be the underdog in that series. Sure. Yet it's a pick 'em or they're favored, depending on where you look.
So I will believe in the Hurricanes. Stormy has told us she believes they're a bunch of soft Europeans, but I don't believe that to be the case.
Okay, yet I'm the one that always puts words in everybody else's mouth. That's interesting how that played out.
3 NBA best bets for me as well. Knicks Pacers over 5.5 games, -165. Josh Hart, as we talked about, series leader in rebounds at 5-1. And then Timberwolves game 1. We'll get more into this tomorrow.
Yeah.
+7.5.
Yeah, that'll be good. I know today we focused more heavily on just the series at its core, but tomorrow, obviously, game 1 of the Western Conference. Then on Wednesday, we'll have game 1 of the Eastern Conference. We will dive not only into the series prices in different angles, but series long props, as well as those individual games and kind of the different angles and approaches to them both. I do also want to get out there that I have speaking of series props, I have one in the NHL in the Western Conference. Evan Bouchard over 5.5 points for the series. So -105 the price. I think that a key to this going over is that we do get a little bit of a longer set. I think we need 6 games to get there, which I think we will with the back and forth between Dallas and Edmonton. So I was just surprised to see this number at 5.5. And Connor McDavid, we talked about best player not only left in the playoffs, but in the entire world. He's the best guy in the league right now in this sport. Mm-hmm. His points prop was 9.5. And for Evan Bouchard, who I would say a solid 50+% of the time when Connor McDavid is doing something, Evan Bouchard's going to be involved in those. The way that they're on the ice together as often as they are, specifically even strengthened on the power play. I feel like 5.5 is a very reasonable number for him to go over for how often he plays with Connor McDavid and is involved in his scoring and assisting plays. So I went with that. And I also like the Oilers to just win the series. -110 is that price. I think it's worth a sprinkle on the Oilers in 6. I feel like 6 is about the right number that we get here, +450. And I'm sick to my stomach about this pick, JVT. Mm-hmm. I don't like the Oilers. I don't believe in them. I don't think that they're good defensively. I don't think that they're as deep as they've shown the last 2 series. But I believe that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are going to go wild. I feel like they have some sort of magic that you can't handicap coming off of last year from a motivation standpoint, having lost in 7, rallied all the way back against Florida to force that final game and what ends up being such a close game too down the wire for them and not winning. Gut-wrenching, and that's something that's really catapulted and fueled them. And their power play hasn't gotten going yet. If and when that does, and their goaltending continues to stand up and they continue to get scoring from elsewhere, and Matthias Ekholm potentially comes back in this series, which there are rumblings that can and will happen.
Love good rumblings.
We love rumblings. Love a rumor mill. I feel like it was like an obligatory just bet on Edmonton. They're kind of magic right now, which is stupid because
Stars
Dallas is better. Yeah, do it. Stars are better in every other category on paper, especially if you're looking at the stats. You're an analytics guy. You look down the numbers, look at everything. Dallas has the edge, except for Connor McDavid.
That might be the edge you need. Just the best player on the ice.
Yeesh. I hate it. I love the NHL so much, but I hate betting it sometimes. But
I think it's everything.
What are you going to do? That's a wrap for us today. Fun show as always. Tomorrow, like we said, we're going to get into the more individual game angles of a handful of these series, but series prices, all of that good stuff coming up tomorrow here on the program. Same time, same place as always. For our producer, Brian Ortega and JVT, I'm Stormy Buonantony. Keep it locked right here. Coming up next on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, prop points. Diving into a lot of NBA today over there. So stick around. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck with your bets.